Welcome to the Compliance 911 Show, a no-nonsense podcast discussing hot topics for today's busy compliance professional. It's everything you wanted to know about regulatory compliance, but we're afraid to ask. And now, here are your hosts, Dean Stockford of M&M Consulting and Len Suzio of GeoData Vision.
Good morning, Dean. Today, I understand we're tackling another great topic and one that is on my mind and the mind of many compliance professionals, AI integration into regulatory compliance. So I'm going to be waiting with bated breath.
Well, hi, Len, and good morning to you as well. You are correct. Today, I plan to tackle another AI and compliance-related topic. Regulatory expectations continue to rise, and compliance costs are climbing, and regulators are asking not just whether you comply, but how you do it. So at the same time, AI tools are moving lightning quick, as we know, and sometimes faster than governance frameworks can actually keep up. And so over the next few minutes, we'll explore where AI is already delivering value in bank compliance and how leading institutions are integrating it responsibly, and what practical steps your financial institution can take to get that into your overall compliance management program.
Well, as I said, Dean, I'm on the edge of my seat waiting for this presentation. AI is something we experience every day at our company, and we see it at all our clients as well. I've often wondered how financial institutions are addressing this internally.
Well, Len, let's start with the reality on the ground, as they say. Banks today are managing thousands of regulatory updates, interpretations, and a myriad of changes each year, as well as increasing data volumes across transactions, customers, communications, and persistent pressure to reduce costs while improving accuracy. And although, banks have invested heavily in the transition to technology, traditional compliance models are largely manual, rules-based, and reactive, not designed for the rapidly growing AI environment as we know it. Consider transaction monitoring for a minute under BSA and AML provisions. Many legacy systems still rely on those static rules that generate high volumes of false positives. Compliance teams spend enormous time reviewing alerts that lead absolutely nowhere, while real risk often slip through the cracks. This is especially important, obviously, with BSA, but it also pertains to other areas of compliance. This is where AI becomes more than just a technological upgrade. It becomes a strategic resource for compliance professionals. AI doesn't replace the compliance expertise, I always say the human in loop, but instead it augments it by processing large data sets much faster, spotting patterns that humans can't easily detect, and is continuously improving over time.
Dean, I think a lot of people are afraid that AI is going to replace them, but I don't see that ever happening. It's just going to be a tool. AI will be a tool to augment the capabilities of compliance officers. So can you provide our audience with examples of where AI is making the biggest impact today on compliance management?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, we certainly use it in our company on varying levels, but there are, just some examples I can provide, some quick examples. I'm sure there's many more, but in my experience, there are three areas where AI has really had the greatest impact in banking that I've seen thus far. Transaction monitoring, as I mentioned before, with anti-money laundering systems. Machine learning models analyze transactional behavior dynamically, learning what normal looks like for different customers or segments. Instead of hard-coded rules into these rules-based systems, systems adapt to the behaviors in those changes, which significantly reduces false positives with improving detection of suspicious activity and enhancing efficiency. And this plays right in, before I move on to the next one, it plays right into, the customer due diligence aspects, where the regulators really want you or certainly expect you to establish that baseline of risk. And once you've established the baseline, then the system through AI or whatever the behavioral settings are will detect whether there's an anomaly or a red flag from that baseline risk that you've established. Of course, regulatory change management is also critical, and AI can assist in that. Those powered tools can scan regulatory updates, bulletins, and enforcement action, then map those changes directly to internal policies, controls, and of course, procedures. This reduces, the manual interpretation. It helps compliance teams respond much faster, more consistently, and efficiently. As a reminder, as I mentioned before, human in loop procedures should be implemented, which is, maintaining that human element. We have to be able to validate and ensure that the AI tools are producing accurate data before, of course, we pass on it. Risk assessments, which is, really become the norm, where we have to do a risk assessment for every area of the financial institution. And AI tools can aggregate data across all business lines of financial institutions to produce timelier and data driven risk assessments, which supports management and board level oversight with a much clearer insights overall. And again, these are areas where we've experienced AI playing a big role, but this is expanding rapidly, as you can imagine.
Dean, I could certainly see how AI can help financial institutions in the areas that you mentioned and how it will impact many other areas. But is AI a plug and play solution?
Oh, wow. You're always full of great questions. So I appreciate this. And the short answer is no. From a regulatory perspective, using AI increases, not decreases, the importance of governance. And I think that's where this is somewhat of a misnomer because people think it's going to essentially eliminate a whole bunch of stuff, where it really doesn't. Regulators consistently expect financial institutions to demonstrate the model transparency that's being used, the explainability of decisions that we're making based on AI results, strong data governance, and of course, ongoing model validation and monitoring, which we've experienced for a great many years with BSA AML systems. So it's really nothing new that we have to validate the input and, of course, the output of the information that's going into these solutions. So, in other words, if you can't explain why your AI solution made a decision, that's a big problem.
And you know what? That's what I was thinking, Dean. Set it and forget it would seem to be too easy. So, can you tell our audience what you see for compliance best practices?
Yeah, again, this is, the list is probably so significant that it would take more than one podcast to go through, but I do have just a few, I'll say five specific best practices in my experience that I can share. Involve compliance early in the AI design, not after deployment. So if you're considering or contemplating the adoption or purchase of a particular solution, make sure you involve compliance, allow them to kick the tires a little bit before you actually deploy it. Maintaining clear documentation of the model purpose, the inputs, and of course, any limitations the system may have. Keeping humans firmly in the loop for material decisions, of course, is extremely important and is expected of the regulators that there is some level of human interaction. Establishing clear escalation paths when AI outputs seem questionable, and ensure that your written program is clear on what is acceptable use in those solutions that are essentially prohibited under your internal policies and procedures, with emphasis on, of course, customer protection or protection of data, the non personal information that should be protected under, of course, privacy and everything else. So AI should be used to support compliance judgment, not replace it. So your job is not going to be sent away.
Yeah, that's I'm certain that's a relief to many bank compliance officers. It should be a tool to help people, not replace them.
Yeah.
So, Dean, based on our discussion today, AI does appear to be the wave of the future and a real strategic opportunity for compliance functions in financial institutions. What do you say?
Yeah, well, that's well said, Len. However, AI is not the wave of the future. It's already here. And it was kind of an eye opener to me. I think it goes all the way back to the 1960s. But the real differentiator will be how thoughtfully, transparently, and responsibly banks choose to integrate it into their everyday practices.
Those are good points, Dean. I know you always have parting words for the audience. So, before we terminate this broadcast, can you provide some final thoughts for our audience?
Yeah, absolutely. I always like to give a few takeaways. So, if your financial institution is early in its AI journey, here are 4 practical steps I would say to consider. Start with high pain, low risk use cases. So, look for areas with heavy manual workloads and well defined outcomes like alert prioritization or document review. This helps, of course, validate as well. Clean and govern your data. So AI is only as good as the data it learns from. Invest in data quality, lineage, and access controls early. Good input obviously translates to good output, and very, very important, because that's what regulators are going to hone in on, is the input and also the importance of the output. Partner across the financial institution. So don't be siloed. Use everybody from compliance to risk to IT to legal. All your business lines must collaborate. AI governance cannot live, as I indicated, in a silo. Prepare for regulatory conversations. This is, while new to regulators as well, they're certainly not sitting on their hands, waiting for you to stimulate or start the conversation. So be proactive. Be ready to explain your models, your controls, your oversight processes, your validation processes, and of course, clearly and confidently being able to explain that is really critical when you're in a regulatory exam.
Dean, those are 4 great points that I would encourage the audience to replay, make certain they capture it. This has definitely been an excellent discussion about a hot topic today. I want to thank you on behalf of the audience, and we hope that the audience enjoyed today's podcast. This is Len Suzio from Geodata Vision.
And this is Dean Stockford from M&M Consulting saying thank you for listening to today's podcast, and to please let us know of any topics you'd like to hear in future episodes.
Thanks for listening to the Compliance 911 Show. If you like the podcast, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss an episode. While you're at it, please give us a like and review to help others find the show. As always, links are in the show notes, and you can always find us online at compliance911show.com. Follow M&M Consulting and Geodata Vision on LinkedIn for all the latest news and information on compliance hot topics.